The Reykjavik Summit of 1986 stands as a momentous event in the midst of the Cold War, bringing together two of the most influential leaders of the era, President Ronald Reagan of the United States and General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev of the Soviet Union. Held in the capital of Iceland, this summit was a critical juncture for diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions and reduce nuclear arsenals, particularly intermediate-range nuclear forces, IRBM, in Europe. At the time of the Reykjavik Summit, the Cold War was entrenched in decades of ideological struggle and military build-up. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a nuclear arms race, with both sides amassing vast stockpiles of weaponry. The specter of nuclear conflict loomed large, exerting immense pressure on world leaders to seek avenues of détente and arms reduction. President Ronald Reagan came to the summit with a bold proposition known as the Zero Option. This ambitious plan called for the complete elimination of all intermediate-range nuclear missiles in Europe. It was a dramatic departure from traditional arms control negotiations and signaled Reagan's willingness to pursue significant disarmament measures. Mikhail Gorbachev, who had ascended to the Soviet leadership in 1985, was a proponent of perestroika, restructuring, and glasnost, openness. He arrived in Reykjavik with a willingness to engage in substantive discussions on arms control. Gorbachev's pragmatic approach to negotiations marked a departure from the rigid policies of previous Soviet leaders. The discussions in Reykjavik were marked by a candid and open exchange of ideas. Both leaders were deeply invested in finding common ground, yet faced internal pressures and differing priorities. While progress was made, particularly in the realm of strategic arms reductions, an agreement ultimately eluded them. One of the most contentious issues at Reykjavik was Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI, a proposed missile defense system. Gorbachev insisted that any arms control agreement would need to include limitations on SDI, viewing it as a potential destabilizing factor. This became a significant point of disagreement and a major obstacle to reaching a comprehensive agreement. Despite the summit ending without a formal agreement, the Reykjavik Summit laid important groundwork for subsequent arms control negotiations. The willingness of both leaders to engage in substantive discussions and explore new avenues for disarmament signaled a shift in the dynamics of U.S. Soviet relations. The Reykjavik Summit paved the way for subsequent arms reduction agreements, notably the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, INF Treaty, signed in 1987. This landmark treaty marked the first time the U.S. and the USSR agreed to eliminate an entire class of nuclear weapons. The Reykjavik Summit remains a symbol of the potential for diplomatic breakthroughs, even in the midst of deeply entrenched global conflicts. It demonstrated that leaders, even from adversarial nations, could come together with a shared commitment to global security and arms control. The Reykjavik Summit offers timeless lessons for future diplomatic endeavors. It reminds us of the transformative power of visionary leadership, open dialogue, and a shared commitment to a safer and more secure world. Support me by subscribing to my channel and watch the story of the Soviet Union boycott the 1984 Summer Olympics. Thanks for watching.